All right, so I guess we can get started. Before the presentation, I would like to talk a bit about us, about Steltix. So welcome to our webinar about Appshare. My name is Andrea Fernandez from the Marketing and Communications Department. And I would like to present you Steltix, who we are and where we are located. So we are a global supplier of ERP and related business solutions. We have more than 20 years of experience in JD Edwards, and as of today, we have offices in Europe, Africa, Asia Pacific, and the US. With more than 200 employees worldwide, we are able to have a 24/7 capability for our customers. And I'm going to explain a bit the services that we focus on. So we like to say that we think global and act local. And some of our services are the ERP and digital applications advisory, software licensing, training with our really popular JD Edwards Summer School, project delivery, and managed services or support. Over time, and thanks to our customers' feedback, not only have we been focusing in our services, but we have developed our own products. And as you can see, one of them is Appshare, which we will present in today, but we also have APA, Transparent Logon, Dropzone, and Version Workbench. So Appshare is designed to deliver transactions on any device, and the rest are for accounts payable automation, sync and sign-on, mass data updates on JD Edwards, and a project accelerator and compliance control tool. So now I would like to introduce our presenters, Mark Herwege. He's a solution engineer of JD Edwards, Applications Unlimited, or Oracle. Thank you for being here, Mark. And Luis Pasaro, he's the engineering leader and Appshare product owner at Steltix. So I'll pass it on to you, Mark. Thank you and enjoy.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you to allow me to speak here to your customers today. So I'm honored to be able to do so. But I'm only going to give an introduction to the real subject of today, which will be handled by Luis. Now, to give it a little bit of context, so we will be talking about mobile applications for JD Edwards, or in the broader sense, alternative user interfaces for JD Edwards. And you may be aware that with JD Edwards, we used to have a series of out-of-the-box mobile applications. Now, we have moved on from that. And there's a number of reasons for it. And the first and foremost reason I would say is the trend in software development. These old mobile applications were developed with technologies which got dated, were complex, difficult to maintain. And in today's IT world, there's a lot of low-code, no-code platforms which make it actually fairly easy to develop user interfaces. And these tools also make it possible to make use of the latest user experience designs and practices. There's something called, and that's technology again, progressive web apps. So that's a technology, HTML technology, that allows you to develop applications and to use them on different form factors without having to adapt your application, something that wasn't possible when we go back a number of years when we originally developed mobile applications. So from the UI development perspective, there has been quite a bit of evolution. And the other part of the evolution is open and easy and open standards for communication between backend servers, and in this case, Enterprise One, and front-end applications. So all of these low-code, no-code platforms can call REST APIs to get data from a background system, to update information in a background system. So all of these trends, new trends that were got maturity since we originally developed this plethora of mobile applications. Next slide, Luis. So we adapted our mobile strategy relative to that. In our mobile strategy, we want to be more aligned with customer requirements. And I will tell you, we might have had like 70 or 80, I don't remember exactly, mobile applications before. There were only a few of them that were really used extensively. The reason being that when you create a mobile application, you make a compromise. So you put things in there and you leave out other functionality, but that functionality you leave out may be critical to you as a customer. So to be able to use that mobile application, you then had to start modifying it, which wasn't always easy to do. That's the first thing. Second thing, many of our customers pull data from multiple systems into their daily mobile or other UI. So it could be JD Edwards, but it can also be something else. So that composed mobile app was also something that we didn't do in our JD Edwards developed mobile applications. So rather than trying to be to create a large set of mobile applications, we invested in the tooling, and we have an intention to deliver a few key mobile applications. And you may have noticed that we do have a PO and requisition approval mobile application available. So others may be coming, but it will never be a massive number. The investment is is much more in the tooling. And that makes it possible to be more flexible, to be more aligned also with the user experience direction that we're taking with other applications. Next slide, Luis. Now, I've talked about the technology, and I've talked about the UI side of things, progressive web apps, low-code, no-code tools. And obviously, from an Oracle perspective, we have tooling for that, but we're actually quite neutral to whatever tooling is being used there. And we see our customers and partners using various sets of tooling. So, for instance, and we'll be talking about this today, Appshare is built on other tooling than the tooling that Oracle delivers, but what it does is talk REST APIs and talk REST APIs with JD Edwards. And when we talk REST APIs in JD Edwards context, well, the one key thing there that matters is the JD Edwards orchestrator, because the orchestrator opens anything in JD Edwards as a configurable, parameterizable REST API for the outside world. And that's also what's being used by all of these tools, including Appshare. Now, there's one thing I'll add to this. We've had for a while a specific iPad mobile application for JD Edwards, which makes the JD Edwards standard UI easier to use in a tablet form. That mobile application is still there and will remain to be there, so we don't touch it there. But apart from that, alternative UIs, mobile, or tablet or desktop with a specific configuration what's on the screen, but I'll extend it a little bit. You can think about chatbots, for instance, as well, as alternative UIs. All of that is external tools talking to JD Edwards using REST APIs. Next slide. And we see a big advantage in approaching it this way. It's more flexible, it provides more choice, it allows you to tailor it. It's a lot easier to create mobile apps than it used to be. And we do see our customers picking up on that. We do see our partners investing in that and picking up on that, and preparing and pre-packaging certain mobile applications, allowing flexibility to their customers. And that's what Steltix will talk about with Appshare, with what they have done on their site. Next slide. So I encourage you, as always, before passing it on to Luis, to stay connected, stay in touch with us. And the very last thing here on the slide, Learn JD. If you don't know it yet, learnjd.com is the one thing you should remember from my pitch today, because a lot of what I'm talking about is over there. with in more or less detail with videos and so on. So go and have a look if you want more information on JD Edwards Mobile or other topics. And with that, I thank you for the time, and I'll pass it on to Louis, who will be talking about Appshare.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you all for joining this one. I'm seeing some familiar names already, so I'm really glad to be sharing this with you all. So to start off, I would like to discuss what is Appshare, and I think what Mark explained is a very good opportunity and a very good hand up to me, because he mentioned that Oracle came up with the AI server, which allows JD Edwards to connect to the external world in a RESTful way, which means that they could expose JD Edwards to the external world by exposing via REST APIs. Now, we took the advantage of that, and then we created what we call Appshare, which is a solution that is a SaaS solution, but we like to call it apps as a service, which means that customers can have access from the web directly to that solution. Appshare leverages the JD Edwards services, which means that everything that a customer has on their own JD Edwards system, it will be there still. All the validations, all the integrities, everything, every single process that you have at your company will still be within your JD Edwards system, because that's your core business. But then we can leverage that, and then we can expose all your JD Edwards processes with a user-friendly way, in a way that we can simplify your daily tasks, and much more than that. So Appshare, yes, is a solution that can run on a mobile device and a tablet, but also it can run on a desktop. Actually, can run on any device. That's why it's a PWA, Progressive Web Apps, which means that we only need a device with a browser and a connection, and then you have Appshare fully available for you. So on top of that, we know that our customers, they all have specific needs. So some of them are running very standard and specific processing JD Edwards. Others are running very custom or specific business. And for that, we separate the apps, or the module as we call in Appshare, in two different categories. So we call the first one as community apps. These are all apps or modules that we created that run over a standard JD Edwards applications, which means that we are talking about address book, inventory management. You can think about many standard JD Edwards processes. We have an app for that. And these apps are running over those standard JD Edwards processes. On the second category, we call business applications. These are apps that we created specifically to match our customers' need. So we know customers have their own process, their own setup, they have their own customizations even. They have their 55 apps, and we from Appshare, we can use those custom applications at the customer side to run an app. So we can create whatever app is necessary to meet our customer needs. In regards that those business apps that we create for many, many different areas at companies and customers out there all across the globe. So these are some examples of areas that we have already created apps for. So we are talking about supply chain, finance, HR, warehouse, and many, many, many others. So we have more than 280 apps created for our customers and counting, because every time we can create more and more apps for our customers to match any needs, right? These are some specific customers and what they say in regards to the apps that we created for them. So what you guys are seeing here are three big customers here. So the first one, Birth, they work with tasted syrups and vinegar. And they have we implemented Appshare for them, where they have where they run CRM, finance, manufacturing, warehouse processes. In the middle, we have Hessen, where they deal with meats processing and pharmaceutical stuff. And these are also a very complex process and a big business. And we brought a warehouse solution in only 6 weeks by using Appshare, right? Because the most beautiful thing about Appshare is that you don't need to touch anything in your JD Edwards system. So whenever you have there your processes, your integrity, your roles, your security, everything will be there still. We are creating a front end, a better user experience for our customers, right? The third one is Kuna, which is a hair cosmetic business. So also we implemented their warehouse where they have all kind of transactions in warehouse, picking, putaways, cycle count, everything. So they have many users running their daily tasks by using Appshare on their scanner devices. All right, so these are just some examples of many customers that have been using Appshare already. I would like to highlight this one. This is MYR, is a very big electrical construction group. It's a big player in the US. And they have decided to go with Appshare because they were running this daily task, especially job costing, maintenance orders, and things like that. And they were having very difficulties on dealing with a lot of amount of data, approvers, and things like that. And we created specific solutions that help them to improve their task, or in other words, we're improving their productivity. So now, after implementing Appshare, they have almost 200 devices running Appshare, more than almost also 200 approvers daily and monthly approving tasks, time entries, and things like that. So you can see here, they're big numbers, and they are really happy because we reduced their time. So we reduced their effort on achieve something by implementing a mobile solution that will help them on simplifying the process. And thinking of that, again, Appshare is not only a mobile solution, but it's beyond that. We simplify and we automate business processes. And I think that's the beauty and the most important thing about Appshare. So think about everything that you have in your JD Edwards system. So I have here an example of a work order. So this was a customer where they have two different processes related to work order. So the first one is where they print a work order, and to do that in their custom process in their JD Edwards system, it requires 6 or 7 or almost 10 applications and forms to achieve that. So they start with going to the task menu, finding the right application, and then they need to submit the job to print the work order. They need to select the data selection. They need to put a value in the processing options, print that, and so on. And up to the end, they have this work order printed, right? On the other hand, in Appshare, we have only one single click. So they select an order, and if one click away, they can print that order. So every step that you are seeing here, it is still happening in your JD Edwards, but behind the scenes. So users, they don't need to worry about going to all these complex screens and different flows and probably making mistakes, right? So we simplify everything and remove all the complexity away from customers and users. On the second step, they have what they call reservation. So they need to reserve this order in order to work with. But look at that. It's even worse because they need to go through all these screens, all these flows in JD Edwards system, many rows, reads, forms. So it's easy to get messy with this. It's easy to make mistakes, right? Because you need to remember all those steps, you need to remember where you need to go to. And besides that, we know that many of those JD Edwards screens are filled with multiple fields. Grids are filled with many information, and sometimes those fields or those information are not really necessary for a certain process. So we know our customers, and we understand that in order to be productive, we can remove all this complexity away, and then we can deliver a simplified screen where a user only needs to see the important data and click or do whatever they need to do. So in that case, we simplified all those screens, all that flow in just one screen where the user select the order, they can see the relevant information such as the lot number, quantity, or whatever, and then they can press done to say, okay, I am confirming, I'm reserving that workload. So again, it's all about automation, all about simplification. So we can still call many forms and applications in behind, but from a user's point of view, it's just a simple screen. So that's why we've heard customers saying that we improve their productivity because we bring only the necessary things from the front end. This is another very good example. So I know that some of you in the audience are really familiar with this, the receipt process, right? So a receipt process in JDeditors can happen in two different ways. So you have your regular receipt or you have your routing step. And either way, you need to know which one you should use, and then you need to check status, you need to check the order, you need to know where the order is in now, and then what's the next step. So they all need to go through all different flows in JDeditors. And more than that, if you have a quality test, or if you want to override location, if you want to change quantity, then it's an extra application in JDeditor to do that, right? And at the very end, suppose you want to call a UBE to print that order or to print a label or whatever thing like that. You were only adding processes and screens on top of each other. Now, we created a simple app in Appshare where everything is done by just 2 clicks away. So in the first screen, user will select the order, and then he or she can see all the details, and then he can just only select the lines that they want to receive and click process. So again, we are simplifying all these processes in JDeditors by bringing mobility and bringing simplicity. And with that, the user experience, these users can do their job in a faster way. Right. So that's a very good example of how we simplify things based on our customer needs. So now I think it's time to demo you a little bit about Appshare. Of course, so I'm going to briefly demonstrate here some examples, and after that, you guys feel free to reach out. We want to discuss more and show more. We can go into the details. But let me then show that to you. I will share my screen here. I hope you guys can see my browser. And if you're not, just let me know. So as I said, Appshare is a PWA solution, which means that you don't need to worry about installing anything. You don't need to worry about downloading anything. You don't need to worry about keeping storage or whatever thing like that. You only need a device with the browser. So I'm here at my computer. I'm using my Chrome browser, and then I can access appshare.steltix.com, and then I will fall to this page here, right? It's important to say that from that point on, everything is running from my device already, because this is a PWA application, right? So when I access appshare.steltix.com, I will fall into this login page. And here I have some fields to be filled. And the first one is your JDeditors AIS server, right? So at your company, you have your JDeditors system, you have your AIS, so you can fill it in. So for the sake of this one, I will use our environment. And then you use your JDeditors credential. I will use mine. And when I hit connect, what is happening is actually Appshare, or the browser front-end service, is connecting directly to your AIS system. So there's no data getting out of your network. Everything is within your JDeditors system. All your data will still be there. There's no communication going back and forth outside of your network. So what is happening here now, when I hit connect, I'm connecting to this environment specifically. and I have access to Appshare using this particular environment. So I got this environment here in JDeditors as well. So I can connect using the same user and password. And I'm in my JDeditors system. So I'm going to show you guys a little bit about how we can bring flexibility, mobility, and how we can simplify things from Appshare. So I've got a couple of examples here. These are the apps that I can use as a shortcut. So what you're seeing here is just shortcuts. So as a user, I can determine which apps I use most, and I can put here on my shortcut. But let me tell you that this is a very brief example of many other apps that we have, right? So as I said, we have more than 280 apps. So we have a lot of apps. This is just a couple of them. So a customer can have many, many apps as they want. And here we can only put the shortcuts or the most important for the users on the daily task. So for the first one, I would like to start with the receipt. As I mentioned before, the receipt app is a very interesting application because, as I said, we have many customers running a receipt app, and we know how complex sometimes it is to receive an application. So if I go here in JDeditors, I have the P3312 application. Right? I can search for my branch, and I can see, right? I can see all the orders available to be received. So I'm gonna pick one as an example. This one, for example, I have this item, I have 3 eaches. Then I go to my Appshare. I will scan, and that's the important thing. I can type, I can scan, I can use barcode, I can use my camera, or anything that is available, I can use here on Appshare. Right? So after scanning this, you will notice that it brought the line available to be received. So in that case, indeed, I have only one line. So I can say, okay, I want to receive that line. I can override quantity. I can put a lot information. I can override location. I can do all necessary things. And again, if you look at this, if you compare to JDeditors, you will see that we have tons of different information here in that grid, in the regular receipt. And maybe most of them are really not important for the user. So we brought the only necessary information that this user needs to see. So he needs only to change the quantity if necessary, change the lot, location, and expiry date, for example. So suppose I want to do a partial receipt, say I want to receive only 1 each, I can do that. And when I press process, everything will happen inside my JDeditors. Now it says order successfully received. And if I go there, I press fine. Now I have 2 eaches. So you see, everything happens online. Everything happens inside your JDeditor system, and nothing else was added on top of that, right? What I'm showing here, of course, I'm using my desktop, but if I go on a mobile device, for example, you will see that the app is responsive. So we use the latest technologies and programming language to bring all features that is available out there. So we can use this responsive app that will adapt to whatever screen you have. And that's the beauty, because it doesn't matter if you're running a tablet, desktop, mobile scanner, in your Tesla, whatever. If you have a browser, you can have Appshare. So again, I can scan the order or another order, and I can continue working with this order or another. All right, so again, everything is responsive, everything is online and connected to your JDeditor system. Other examples are things that we take it from granted. So for example, address book. If you look at this, of course, you can work with your address book here in your JDeditors, but the thing is, we can do more. We can have some pictures, we can work with attachments, you can think about CRM, and then you can think about managing your customers, your vendors or whatever from your phone. So if you want to have an information about the customer and employee, or something, you can go directly here, click on this guy's name, and then you can see his picture. You can change his data from here. And as you probably notice, we have different information from different places in JAddress in just one screen. So we are talking about address book, we are talking about addresses, we are talking about phone and emailing. So we have different kind of information coming from different places in JAddress. And again, that's how we automate, that's how we simplify a user's experience. So from here, I can change the photo, or I can even click here, and then I can upload or drag and drop another picture, for example, mine, and there you go. If I save here, this is, of course, the profile picture, but here I have 2 attachments on this line. So I can easily play with that, and I can add attachments or remove attachments from JAddress information. So think about all the possibilities. So you have your phone or your scanner, and then you want to take pictures from your work orders, from a warehouse, for products, and then you can attach directly to your work order, purchase order, and so on. Right? So we can use all possibilities and all features in your device from Appshare. Right? Another good example, and I'd like to mention, is that we also have the kind of same concept as JAddress. So we have what we call variants, which are different versions. So we can, on top of an app, create parameters where we can change the app behavior. So instead of creating a new app, for example, to show only customers, I can easily create a version where I set up, okay, I want this version to show customers only. And then we can play with that. So again, it's the same concept as processing option and version in JAddress, but we have here also in Appshare, which means that you can create only one app and then have multiple versions running different things. Right. Another example would be administration password reset. So we know that every now and then users are stuck with password and they need to call somebody, and that person needs to be connected to a desktop or whatever to go to JAddress and change the user's password. They can do directly from here as well. So from here, I can, as an administrator, of course, I can select a person and I can change their password from here, their JAddress password. And that's a very good, important thing to mention. We do not store any credential, any data, anything. So everything that you're seeing here is coming from this JAddress system, right? So all the users that we are loading here are coming from JAddress. So we do not store, we don't have credentials, we don't have anything like that. So this is the very important thing. Everything that processing here is happening in your JAddress. So if I am not a customer or not a administrator, sorry, and if I try to change a password, I will get the error from JAddress. So all error messages, all transactions that you are used in your JAddress system, you will also see here in Appshare. Okay? As I said, there are a couple of applications that are very trained, and we know that customers use very often. And another good example is inventory management. So suppose that you want to do an adjustment or a transaction or a transfer or a replace of any item in your inventory, you can do also from here. So if I scan this item, for example, I can see immediately that I have this item available on all these locations and all these slots. So that's a very good thing also from a warehouse point of view, because before doing a pick or before doing something, I can easily check if I have this item available, if I can ship this item, or something like that. So as an example, I have this touring bike. I have 51 inches on this demo location. I can click here and say that I want to transfer 10 inches to this webinar location, for example. When I click process here, it says okay, and then now immediately you notice that the amount was deducted from here, And then if I go all the way down, you'll see now I have 10 eaches on this location. So every transaction is happening already in your JET system from your phone, right? So again, I can do transfers, I can do adjustment, say, no, I don't have more 10 items, I wanna, actually I have 11, so I can add one on top of the 10, and now we go. You see that I have 11 eaches. So again, there are many, many different possibilities, and every single process that you have in your JET system, you can have from Appshare, from your phone, from your device, from desktop, right? So again, as I said, all these applications will adapt according to the device. So again, the address book will be presented like this, but if I have my desktop view, then we can play with the full space that I have on the desktop, and then you still have the left side with your data and the right side as the detail, and then we have more space to play with. So again, we have lots of customers that replace their JET desktop with Appshare, because again, instead of having users going to different task menus, going to different forms, we can simplify everything in just one screen. So again, no matter what the needs that you guys have, we can create an app for that. Right. So yeah, this is just an example, or just a brief example of things that we can do from Appshare. So we can play with many different processes. As I said, we have tons of app creators for various different processes in JET. And as a customer and as a user, you can use Appshare. You can customize your Appshare. You can change colors. You can do everything that you want to make Appshare in a way that you want to work on your daily task. So yeah, going back here, now it's your turn, but please wait for the end of this presentation. But after that, I'm really encourage you guys to visit appshare.steltix.com. Remember, you just need to have your AIS set up and enabled. You have your JET user and password, and then you can connect to Appshare. As long as your AIS is available, you can connect it from here. So we really encourage you to go there and try it out yourself. Yeah.
All right. So now it's a Q&A time. And I think, Luis, your camera got a bit frozen in the meantime. So okay. If you can turn on and off your camera, then people can see you again. For now, everyone can go to the Q&A section on top of your Teams. And we have one question at the moment, which is, what coding platform have you used for creating the community apps?
Well, if I understood this correctly, what kind of platform, I assume what kind of JET system that we use for that. So I assume that.
Coding platform. They said
coding platform. Sorry, didn't hear that. So yeah, we use the latest technologies, as I said. So we use JavaScript, React, and a lot of different programming languages to create all this front-end solution.
Perfect. We actually had a question previously that was in regards to the installation, but I think you already mentioned that a couple of times, right?
But it's good to mention again. So you don't need to install anything. You just need to have your browser and you're ready to go.
So one question I have for you is, what if, as a customer, what if my AIS server is not exposed and I don't want it exposed to the internet?
Very good question. So actually, we know that because lots of customers requested that. And we have a couple of solutions. Just keep in mind that, of course, in the end, there is an internal customer network structure to decide which solution they want to go for. But we have one thing that we call local node, which is just a piece of a Docker container that the customer can run Appshare on their local network. which means that they are in full control of defining when to update their Appshare. So whenever we put out a new release, this customer can decide, okay, I'm going to update or not. So they're fully control their own Appshare instance. So again, there is a local node where we can deliver to customer, and they have Appshare running internally. And then instead of having appshare.steltix.com, they can have their own DNS running inside their network. This is one way. Another way, of course, it's VPN. So most of customers connect outside from outside to internal network by using VPNs. Or there's also possibilities to use some proxy solutions like Amazon or Cloudflare or whatever other solution out there.
All right. We have another question that has two questions inside. So the first one is, where will the apps be hosted?
Okay. Yeah. So since this is think about the app as a front-end thing. So the app is just a shell. So the app is actually hosted in our cloud. Right? So all the code that we have is hosted in our cloud solution. And then when you access appshare.steltix.com, you're accessing that front end. So all this front end part will be stored in your browser. And from that point on, your browser is communicating with your JDAdver system directly. So you only need to go to our cloud to download this front end for the first time. And after that, you are ready to go. So yeah, the apps, the code itself, the front end is stored in our cloud.
Okay. Another question is, how difficult is it to build a totally custom app, and does it involve coding?
Yeah, that's a very good one. We helped all customers we developed apps for them, and we can do whatever is necessary to achieve that. It's very easy to create an app for us and to deliver to a customer. Of course, it depends on the complexity and what you're expecting in terms of app, how many applications and processes you want to code in behind. But there's a couple of in a couple of day or 2 or 3, depends on really on the complexity, we can put an app together and create a very specific app for your need.
Okay. Another one is who creates the app, if Steltix or customers, and if the case of the customers, what is the learning curve like?
Yeah, we have been developing for customers because we believe that we can do it faster and easier, and then we can deliver based on all standards that we work inside our networks. So we have a very restrict code revision. We do a lot of checks to be sure that we are matching with all standards that we use in order to develop an app. So we believe that if we do that, we deliver a value quality software to our customers. So we do that.
Okay. Yeah. Then we have another one, and I think that will be the last one until now. All these apps standard processes, and can them be customized to your own company?
Absolutely. Actually, those community apps, as I show, we mostly use them as templates. So of course, because we know that even an address book, for example, can be very different depending on the customer, right? And for that, we usually use those apps as a template. So then we can put on top of that whatever you need in terms of customizations, let's say. So if you want to present a field, hide field, add things, call that, call report, do whatever you want, then we create a specific app for you.
Okay. Another question now regarding single sign-on. So can Appshare homepage include the single sign-on transparent logon link to access JD Edwards?
Absolutely. So we have customers already working with transparent logon and Appshare together. So definitely we have been working with transparent logon already as a single sign-on solution.
Right. So that's it for now, unless anyone wants to take some time to write any other questions for Luis or Mark. Okay, so it looks like, yep, we're done.
Good.
Thank you.
So thank you all. Again, as I said, we really encourage you to visit appshare.steltix.com. Try it out with your own local Steltix instance. Again, as long as you're connected to Appshare, you'll be able to see some apps. You can play around with this. You'll be connected to your own JAdder system. We really encourage you to doing that. And if you have any further question, please reach out. We'll be really glad to answer any other question that you might have. And thank you again.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.